Okay, welcome back to the channel. I just want to do a long-term review of the Nike Air Zoom Tempo Next Percent. I did an initial impressions review about 8 months ago. At that time I had about 50 miles in this shoe. I've now done over 200 miles, so over 300, between 300 and 350 kilometers. Overall, I'm not a massive fan of this shoe. It definitely serves a purpose in any shoe rotation. So in terms of using Nike shoes for racing, I absolutely love the Next Percent 2, and I do think this is a good shoe, what I would call as a gateway to the Nike Next Percent 2. So in other words, you have this Tempo Next Percent shoe in your shoe rotation as a training shoe, but also a racing shoe when it comes to let's say B races, C races, D races. So I very much like to use the Next Percent 2 for A races, but these serve an excellent purpose for training, faster tempo, threshold, session type work, and then really saving the Next Percent 2, which is a much more expensive shoe for A races. So in terms of this Tempo Next Percent, I paid about £170 in the UK. What I like about the shoe is how it feels when you run. There's a guy at my running club described it as having trampolines on your feet, which is a bit of an over exaggeration, but you do get that real sort of springy, bouncy feel out of the Zoom pod, which is in the front of the shoe. Now, what I don't like about that, however, is the real squeakiness you get out of it, and these shoes have always been squeaky from day one. They've never really stopped being squeaky, and I think it's down to this Zoom AirPod and the way it's constructed. It's just giving out a loud noise now. I find that squeaking noise very off-putting, and I wouldn't want to race an A race in them. The other thing I don't like about this shoe, you won't be able to pick it up that well on the camera, but the wear and tear, that sole there is losing its grip. I don't think this is the grippiest shoe in the first place, but it doesn't take long for that sole to wear. It's not so bad on the back, but I think that's because I'm a 4-foot striker, so the back's pretty well intact, but the front has worn quite a lot. So overall, the squeakiness, the noise with the shoe I hate, and the sole, it's not good in slippy, wet conditions here in the UK. You can also see at the back of the shoe this creasing in the back. Overall, I still think the shoe is maintaining its integrity. Even despite what I've said with this AirPod, there's still no signs of the rubber coming away from the sole, because that AirPod is very much separate to the sole itself. But you would probably expect after 250 miles for that pod to come away from the sole, but I think that is very much intact, which is a good sign. There's no sign of breakdown there. In terms of the upper, quite happy. Of course, this shoe isn't waterproof. Quite the opposite. It's not a shoe to wear in bad weather. Full stop, I would say. But again, that upper is very well intact. So despite my overall view that this is not a high mileage shoe, I still think I can get another 100, maybe 150 miles out of this shoe, but I will be using it as a training shoe. So yeah, I think despite not being happy, my main grumble is the noise. I've actually just bought another pair of this shoe and it's exactly the same with the squeak. So I don't know if it's something Nike are just aware of and they are doing nothing about, or whether it's a genuine piece of bad luck that I've had. But overall, if I was to give this shoe a score out of 10, I'd give it a 6 or a 7. Durability is good, but the noise of the shoe is the main weakness for me. But as I said before, it's an excellent gateway to the Next Percent 2, which I really rate as an excellent racing shoe. And this carbon shoe gives you the gateway to the Nike Next Percent 2. So I hope that's been useful. Comment down below, do you use this shoe? What do you think? Do you have any problems with the squeaky noise when you're running hard in this shoe? I'd love to hear from you, and in the meantime, stick around for more.